Tavleen, classic journalism is all about studying the body language of the leaders, classic political reporting. By looking at the body language of all the leaders through the course of the day, when they're exercising their franchise, when they're coming out, BJP, Congress, AAP, what is the assessment that you have?
Other than Shahshi Tharoor, I've seen very kind of despondent body language from the Congress party. The BJP seems quietly confident, and the AAP seems reasonably confident. But from the Congress party, other than Shahshi Tharoor, who looked very cheerful, the rest you don't get that feeling. At least I didn't get any sense that they were cheerful, and some of them looked really gloomy. So
Name a few.
I think Kapil Sibal was looking very gloomy.
Okay.
I think, who are the other ones we've seen? Give me a name.
Yusuf?
Okay, he was trying to be cheerful, but he was, if everyone's going to get 7 seats, we need 21 seats in Delhi, So I wasn't very convinced by any of them. I don't think anybody's going to get all 7, but I actually think that the BJP will get more than AAP in this election, because the issues really are national. I don't think there are any local issues.
Okay, Professor Vishwanathan, it is often said, the point that Tavleen was making, that the issues are national. Do you agree with that? I mean, when we talk about Chandni Chowk, there is this whole issue of, sewage problem. That's a very local issue. It's not national. Do you think that Modi wave or this talk of one candidate or one national figure is going to supersede anything that is to do with constituencies?
Unfortunately so.
Okay.
I think to a certain extent the Modi wave is there. Let's acknowledge it. But at the same time, don't think of Chandni Chowk as a local thing. I think it's a very national place. And I wish it was treated like a national place, because it carries memories of history. It's a different kind of place.
Well said, really.
And so in that sense, this word local makes me suspicious.
Okay.
Because next you'll say it's parochial. So I think one has to allow for it. I want to make one more point. I love this 7 out of 7, which every politician stated. It reminded me of my childhood, where I always thought I would get 100 out of 100 in maths. If I reached 40, I was lucky.
Okay.
Yes, I think that
but before you start, all I want to ask you before you actually comment, interesting to see or hear the reactions of all the Congress leaders from Delhi. It seems that their principal opposition is not the BJP, it is the Aam Aadmi Party.
Well, what's happened is that the Aam Aadmi Party vote after the Delhi elections, and after especially their abandoning the government, that might have migrated, decamped to BJP. The Congress vote went to Aam Aadmi Party because it was too radical for the Congress vote to go to BJP. But the Aam Aadmi Party vote has travelled back to Congress, and these are all to some extent. This is what's really happening. So Delhi has been full of many streams going on just now. But whereas I agree entirely with the sentiment expressed by Professor Vishwanath, I would say that let's come to the ground reality. The ground reality is that people are looking, politicians and the voters are looking at the fact, what is the percentage of Muslim votes, what's the percentage of Banya votes, what's the percentage of Dalit votes in a place like Chandni Chowk and also elsewhere. And there's a rare, maybe a rare constituency in Delhi, for instance, maybe New Delhi, perhaps, where one would not be looking at the caste composition or the religious composition.
This time it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that, for instance, in Chandni Chowk, even in other areas such as East Delhi, where actually Aam Aadmi Party started from, and Sandeep Dixit is standing from there. I would say that people are, the politicians, the parties are banking on, this is the Muslim vote bank, this is the Dalit vote bank, this is the Banya vote bank. And in fact, if you look at BJP, Mahesh Giri, Sandeep Dixit and Raj Mohan Gandhi in Aam Aadmi Party, there is a subterranean understanding that this religious
too will
group,
be a factor.
This religious
Nalini,
group,
there's either a wave or there's caste.
Yeah, because
the
that's
two
where the
don't go
confusion
together.
is. Tavleen.
Either you're saying that there is a wave.
There is a wave overlaying.
The caste stops. That's what's happening all over the country. Otherwise, there's no wave.
I would say that there is a wave factor, which is actually
it can't be a factor. There's either a wave or there's not.
I think that underlying this, underlying this entire caste thing is a wave. So has the entire caste gone? What I'm saying, Tavleen, is that the entire caste might have got convinced that there is a wave, and therefore the entire caste goes to that. It might have voted another way in December last year, but now the caste says, more or less the caste says, we are going here. That's the way.
Okay, so is there a caste factor at play, or is there a wave, or actually a mixture of both? That is something that we are actually looking at here. Before we continue with this discussion, let's also quickly play out this report that was sent by Shiv Arur, my colleague from Chandni Chowk.
It's one of Delhi's oldest areas, but Chandni Chowk is by far the biggest fight this election from Delhi for election 2014. The incumbent member of parliament in the very prestigious constituency of Chandni Chowk, Kapil Sibal, is a two-term member of parliament from the constituency, but he already fights not just an anti-incumbency but a broader anti-Congress wave, in addition to a very concerted and targeted attack by both his opponents. Ironically, Kapil Sibal's motto this election has been Aapka Sibal. But will that really go down with the people of Chandni Chowk is the big question. Remember, the Aam Aadmi Party's Ashutosh, a well-known face, a TV personality and a veteran journalist, has targeted Kapil Sibal for his alleged corrupt practices, and all about how Kapil Sibal hasn't really served Chandni Chowk that well. If you take a look around here in Chandni Chowk, it's one of the most congested, most underdeveloped parts of the national capital. The question really is, will that actually be enough to convince voters to change their minds and vote Kapil Sibal out? And remember, the third contender is another big man, Dr. Harshvardhan of the BJP, who enjoys not only the BJP's great showing during the assembly elections, but also a larger pro-Modi wave in the national capital. The big fight between these three contenders is easily going to be one of the most interesting fights this election. With camera person Arvind Kumar in Chandni Chowk, Delhi, Shiv Arur for Headlines Today.